Let's talk about brackets versus parentheses versus braces. Brackets are going to go around any predefined Mathematica function command. So for instance, if I'm typing in sine of x, then I put brackets around the x because sine is already defined in Mathematica. If I want sine of pi over 2, then I put brackets around the pi over 2. If I just type sine and then in parentheses pi over 2, then it's going to output that, which means that Mathematica is viewing that sine almost as if it's a variable name because it's putting it over here. On this side of the pi, it's not taking pi over 2 as the argument inside of sine. And even, well, there's no space there to get rid of. So brackets go around any predefined Mathematica function. You cannot use brackets in place of parentheses. So for instance, if I type x, let's do x plus 1 squared, execute that, looks fine, x plus 1 in brackets squared, execute that. Now notice that Mathematica over here is giving this error box and it's saying that an expression cannot begin with that. It's expecting there to be the name of a function over here on the left. If you end up using brackets, so for instance, if I do 2 times 2 plus 1, which should be returning 6, we get 6 as we expect. 2 times 2 plus 1 using brackets instead, then it gives us that 2 brackets 3. So go ahead and simplify what it can, but then it's treating this as if it's a function named 2 or something like that. So if you use brackets in place of parentheses, it's not going to simplify things correctly, and it's not going to be treating them the correct way in the background. Parentheses are going to go around anything that you would normally put parentheses around. So you'll use those as your delimiters if you're trying to group expressions inside of an equation. If you have something like x plus 1 squared, all the places that you would normally use parentheses in a mathematics context, you'll use those in Mathematica as well. And any place where you might use brackets as a delimiter to help distinguish it from parentheses in a normal math expression. For instance, if you have several layers of parentheses, sometimes we'll swap brackets and parentheses, alternate back and forth to kind of make it a little bit easier to see where everything goes, where it matches up. In those contexts, you have to use parentheses. You can't switch between brackets and parentheses like we saw up here. For instance, you're not going to get the correct simplification. Braces are used to go around points or to surround lists. And you would also use those around the components of a vector. So if you're defining a vector in Mathematica, that gets treated essentially the same as a point. So for instance, if you are trying to say, let's do a plot command here. I'm just going to plot a simple function, the line y equals x, and we'll go from x being -2 to 2, and let's have an axis origin here. Oh, and there's another place where we use braces. So we use them in a plot function, for instance, if we're telling it the range of x values. So our axis origin, if I want that to be at the point, let's just go ahead and maybe plot this without the axis origin. So right now you can see it's here at 0, 0. If I want these axes to cross up here at this point, 0, 1, then I can do axis origin 0, 1 in braces, and it moves it up so that they cross up here. Typically with axis origin, we'll use that to make sure that they cross at the origin, but for this example, I'm just moving it up there instead. If I make this 0, 0, that's not going to change anything in this particular graph. It looks the same as it did without that command. You'll notice that sometimes Mathematica also returns output inside of a list, such as if I'm going to use the solve command, let's give it something easy, x equals 1. Oops, let's make that x squared so I get multiple solutions. So I want to solve that for x. And I talk more about the solve command in another video, I believe, but that's the basic layout. You give it the equation. Inside of that equation, notice I have the double equal sign there. If I hit space, it reformats that a little bit. But if I hit Shift Enter here, then it returns this list of solutions. And there's another video that describes how you can get at pieces of these solutions here, how you can reference items inside of a list without having to copy and paste. But that's another situation in which you're going to see braces being used in Mathematica. I think those are the main points I want to make here. One of the more common mistakes is using the brackets in place of the parentheses, so make sure that you're not doing that. And again, if you need to reference elements inside of a list, there's a special way of doing that when you see these braces around output.